Our speaker this evening is Mr. John Daly. Mr. Daly specializes in the outpatient treatment of adolescents and young adults with substance abuse and mental health issues. John co-authored the 2006 book, How to Help Your Child Become Drug-Free. Currently, he instructs a graduate school course on chemical dependency for the University of San Francisco and has been an instructor for both UC Davis and the Sacramento County Probation Office. As a recipient of the 1998 Youth Program Award by the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, he was honored for his design and implementation of an intervention curriculum. John, we thank you for being with us and sharing your knowledge with us tonight.
My goal tonight is to help you understand what is going on in our area with regard to adolescent drug use. I teach a course, as was mentioned, that's a 15-hour course for graduate students, and at the end of that course, the graduate students say, hey, we need more, we need more. And so I'm trying to take the best of that course and make it into this 45-minute topic this evening. So I picked the best parts. I work with many wonderful young guys with substance abuse issues, and my view of them is that these are really good kids with a bad illness. And so tonight I want to help to educate you and make you more mindful of understanding this illness, maybe shattering some myths that you carry from the 1960s or 70s, or your own use back then, or wherever you get your information. As a clinician, as a therapist, I can tell you that most people are not trained, most clinicians and doctors and therapists and psychologists are not trained in understanding juvenile onset addiction. When there is training, it's understanding it from an adult model, adult alcoholism, adult addiction. So I'll be sharing with you guys how to better understand adolescent substance abuse so that you're not understanding it just from your own experience as a kid or what maybe you've received in school in your training or education through the media. Just to kind of start things off, times have changed. We aren't in the 60s or 70s anymore. And back in the 60s, marijuana was very popular. Some pills were very popular. LSD or acid was very popular. And marijuana back then was about 0.5% THC. THC is the active ingredient in marijuana that creates the intoxication. Went from 0.5% to 1%, 3%, in the 70s, maybe up to 5%, and has been increasing since then. Any kid represented in this room tonight who has used marijuana has never used marijuana under 10% THC and maybe as high as 15, 17, 18% THC. It's a different drug today. It's not the same drug as it was in the 60s or 70s. The other thing, back then, the average age of onset of first intoxication, which of course has gotten younger every year, but back then in the 60s were college students, maybe some high school seniors, maybe there was a couple of kids rough around the edges that started a little bit before then. Any idea of what the average age of onset of first intoxication is today? 10, 11. It's about 12 years old for boys and 12 and a half for girls. And that's been the data for a number of years. And I think we're probably close to the edge of it becoming 11 or 10 in the next couple of years when we see the research. So the drugs have changed, they're more powerful, and kids are using at a younger age. And there is a big difference between a kid using at 13 years old versus 19 years old. There's so much developmental stuff that gets disrupted that I will talk about. The most popular drug being used today is alcohol amongst teenagers. The scariest one for me in my practice, my group where I work at New Directions Counseling Associates, we've had 20 clients die from substance abuse, and 18 of those were related to alcohol. We aren't interested in parents who say, thank God it was only alcohol my child's doing and they're not using methamphetamine. We haven't had clients die from methamphetamine yet. Alcohol is the #1 killer for young people. Marijuana becomes then second in terms of popular drugs, and marijuana is the #1 drug to get kids in rehab programs across the country because of the disruption that's taking place in their life. Friends are changing, relationship to family is changing, relationship to school is changing, consequences are occurring, the list goes on and on and on. And I'm kind of heavy hitting on these two substances because they are the drugs that you guys as parents are going to minimize the most. It's only alcohol, it's only marijuana, and I'm here to tell you those are the drugs that are going to really ruin your child's life. have a higher probability of getting into your child's life and then affecting it actually more than some of the other drugs. Marijuana and alcohol are popular. Then next to that, the most popular stuff, any guesses? Pills. Prescription and over-the-counter medications, Vicodin, Valium, OxyContin, Ritalin, Xanax, Coricidin, cough and cold medicine, Robitussin. Those are very popular. Then we get into, ecstasy and cocaine and methamphetamine. Cocaine has been on the rise in the last couple of years, and it's pretty popular right now, actually. Ecstasy has been an interesting drug for me to watch. In the late 90s, we heard a lot about it. It was all over the news, on commercials, the Associated Press, the Ad Council, trying to help educate us about ecstasy. And the trends actually started to decrease. But ecstasy has really made a resurgence in the last couple of years. But the kids don't refer to it so much as ecstasy anymore. They refer to it as fizz or thizzle, T-H-I-Z-Z, fizz. And it used to be $25 a pill, and now it's $6 a pill. So something's changed, and I've had more kids hospitalized from that drug in the last couple of years than I did with the epidemic we had in the late 90s. So I'm not sure what they're putting in those pills. OxyContin, painkillers are very popular right now. Vicodin is extremely popular. OxyContin is very popular. This is going to sound extreme, but I'm telling you, we are at the cusp of having a heroin outbreak epidemic amongst our teens and young adults. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because of the number of kids we've seen in the last couple of years abusing Vicodin and codeine and then getting into OxyContin. And then when we ask them the question, if heroin were available in the neighborhood, do you think you would try it? And they'll say, yeah, I would. Because they're already kind of doing it anyway with some of those harder painkillers. How many of you here believe that you have a child who has a friend who uses drugs or alcohol? Show of hands. How many of you have a child who probably has a friend who uses drugs or alcohol? Yeah. When I spoke with ninth graders before, going in and talking to them about substance use and asking them, ninth graders, how many of them were experiencing peer pressure to use? 90% of ninth graders were talking about experiencing peer pressure to use at various schools across the city, not specifically here. And that's scary to me because 10th graders see more drugs and get more peer pressure than ninth graders. Juniors get far more peer pressure than 10th graders, and seniors get more peer pressure than juniors. What happens from ninth grade to 12th grade is a huge difference when it comes to being exposed to adolescent drug use. Real quick, I already talked about the drugs, but this is marijuana and some of the paraphernalia used. Pipes, they put the marijuana in the pipe to smoke it, and these other pipes down here. I'm not going to get too much into what it looks like, but I just wanted to show you in case you haven't seen. Alcohol, as I said, is a very popular drug. You're familiar with some of these pictures, wine bottles, hard liquor bottles, the keg. The bottom left corner is a phenomenon that I've become aware of in the last 2 years, and it's beer pong. Kids playing beer pong. It's a very popular sport, I guess, these days, where they set up cups with alcohol and they take a ping pong ball and bounce it into the cup and then choose people to chase the alcohol down real quick. Here we have prescription medications and over-the-counter medications that I talked about, cough syrup, other pills, ecstasy pills on the bottom left. Ecstasy pills usually have little interesting logos on them. They'll have the Nike symbol or a little yellow banana or just some kind of like cartoonish type symbol. Here to the right, actually where you see a pill, a razor blade in these lines, is OxyContin. Kids will snort OxyContin.